Yo, 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 everybody. Welcome. Jeez, that sounded really white, didn't it?
I thought it sounded awesome.
All right, welcome everybody to the third episode of the PINFALL podcast. I'm Deo, and joining me like always is Julius.
Hey, what's going on, everyone?
2013, as you all know, so we're going to start the new year off with some predictions or awards, whatever you want to say. We're going to go over Breakout Star, Future Endeavored, and Breaking the Glass Ceiling, and we're going to break it up into wrestlers that we would want to see win the award and wrestlers that we think will win the award. So we're going to start off with Breakout Star of the Year, and I want Tyson Kidd to take it to the next level, and I'm going to say that Big E actually is the guy to be the Breakout Star. I want Tyson Kidd for a lot of reasons. I think that he loves professional wrestling. I think that comes out in his matches, how much he loves the sport of wrestling. But obviously he has a lot of work to do in the mic department, which they're starting to give him a little bit more practice. And with each time, I'm seeing him getting better and better, more comfortable. So I'm not going to go as far to say that this is going to be the year that he's going to break out, but I would love to see it. It's going to take more time, I think, than just this 1 year. But if WWE keeps going on the path that they are with him, I have no doubt that he'll be there eventually down the road. And I'm going to say that it is going to be Big E because, number one, I dig his character. I dig his persona right now as the bodyguard of Dolph and AJ. I like how WWE has eased him into the role, and they're not giving him too much to do. He's not wrestling too much other than, hitting a couple of moves here and there. And he's also got that great look. And I believe, Vince always will push a guy with a great look above other guys. So I think he's gonna go far, and I think he'll eventually step out of the shadows from Dolph and AJ and go out and accomplish some big things. Maybe possibly a U.S. title run by the end of the year, an Intercontinental title run, something like that I see in the future. So who are you going to go with for your want to see Breakout Star of the award, Julius?
My want would definitely go to Trent Beretta. He hasn't been on the main show a lot. Actually, I don't think he's been on the main show at all for the last year, ever since he got injured and the whole hashtag Where's Trent thing was starting. He's got something about him. I don't know how he is on the mic. I've heard him like one time and he wasn't that impressive, but it was like a quick quip. But in the ring, he knows what he's doing. He understands. He's aware of everything around him. He knows the right moves to make. I don't think I've ever really seen him botch or anything like that. And his matches always excite me, especially if you give him like 6 minutes, he'll put on something that you'll remember. And he had a huge feud with Drew McIntyre a year ago. It could have been a huge feud. It was like a month-long TV show, like SmackDown feud. And they put a lot of effort into it. And then instead of going all the way, they just said, nah, screw it. Like, the crowd was getting behind Beretta. And they had a storyline. They got Kelly involved. And it had all the makings to make both these guys a star. And instead, they decided to just say, screw that. We're going to throw both Drew and Trent to the wayside for the sake of, I don't know, Edge Del Rio.
Yeah, I would like to know why they pulled the rug out from under that. I always would like to know why they start something and then stop something like that so suddenly that a lot of people see potential in.
Yeah, no, I talked about it in that article I wrote. About the booking, just like good booking, and they had something there where they could have really made both stars. And what's the worst that could have happened? You give them a match at the Royal Rumble or at Elimination Chamber, and it falls a little flat. Mm-hmm. How many matches that year fell flat on pay-per-view?
Exactly.
What's the worst that could happen? The people were like, oh, well, that match wasn't as good as it could have been, or it turns out to be one of the better matches of the year, and you let them go on to a WrestleMania program. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying, that would be the perfect way to do it, but they hardly even gave it a shot.
It seems to be the kind of the trend with a lot of the younger WWE wrestlers is that they have solid wrestling, which is the first and most important aspect, but the mic game is where so many people lack. And I understand why. It's so hard for somebody to get in front of millions of people on live television and knock a promo out of the park. That's so hard to do. I couldn't even imagine trying to do that. I just think that the better characters they have, the more comfortable they are with their character, the more it is like them, but just a little bit ramped up, the better it is. I think that's why I feel like guys like Sandow is so perfect, because he's so comfortable in his gimmick. If he gave him some kind of weird gimmick, he wouldn't nearly be as successful and be able to cut a good promo.
No, yeah, and that's one thing that's really nice about the situation in WWE right now. It feels like there are a lot of characters that aren't. They're not all. I mean, obviously they're caricatures, but they don't feel like a caricature of a caricature. If that makes sense.
No, well said.
It's just like Sandow. Obviously, yeah, he's like an exaggerated, intelligent man. He thinks he's better than everyone, but it fits him. And it feels like it fits him. I believe that he is actually that intelligent, or at least to some level. Mm-hmm. Maybe he doesn't know all the words, like every single word that he says before he goes out and does the promo. Maybe kind of like, oh, let me look up a new word to use. But still, I feel it. It's the same thing with Ziggler. Whenever I see him, it's like, I feel the personality that bleeds from him. And it's nice to see all these people have characters, and some of them can be a little silly, but feel realistic and genuine.
Definitely, yeah. So Trent Beretta is your breakout star that you want to see be the breakout star. Now, who are you going to say that you think will be?
I am going to go ahead and say Antonio Cesaro. He has been rather impressive, and he's missed a couple marks. It's not like, he hasn't knocked the ball out of the park every pay-per-view or anything, but he also hasn't had the greatest pay-per-view opponents. Stuff with the Truth wasn't spectacular. That was actually a case we were talking about, how I liked that Truth promo that he did, or Truth and Cesaro had a SmackDown promo before their last pay-per-view, mm-hmm. And the match turned out to be it was shorter, but it was less entertaining than their first one, and I didn't even dig their first one that much. So it's kind of like, whatever. But even so, he continues to impress me. He's starting to understand he can't lollygag so much, especially with the rest holds and stuff. Because I feel like at certain times he just went for the rest hold at the wrong time and kept it on a little too long. And I feel like he's learning that, and he's already impressive despite all that. Even though he's got the foreign language, he still, has the accent. It still comes off as good promos most of the time. And I feel this year he's just going to really become comfortable and start shining way more than most of the roster, honestly.
He is slowly rising. He's getting more boos and more boos, I feel like. And as long as he keeps doing what he's doing in the ring and really, cutting the good anti-American promos that he has been, that the crowd will keep hating him more and more. And I see it, just the WWE having to do something with him bigger than the U.S. belt. Do you think that he'll be in a world title feud by the end of the year or some point of the year, or do you think that it'll still be in the mid-card level for the rest of the year?
I feel they'll keep him just below the actual main event level.
I do too.
Mostly it'll be kind of like when Cody Rhodes was in the Elimination Chamber last year while he was Intercontinental Champion. I think we'll see stuff like that. We'll see Cesaro. I mean, actually, I wouldn't doubt, depending on what they're trying to do for Elimination Chamber this year, I wouldn't doubt to see him involved in there if he doesn't have a U.S. title match. I'd rather he have a U.S. title match, but actually, either way, I'd be satisfied. But I definitely see something like that happening where he gets mixed up in the main title scene a little bit. Maybe occasionally gets a TV shot or something like that. But I don't see him actually breaking into that main event scene until early. I can actually say this now. Early next year, 2014.
I hope so too. I think that he definitely could be in an elimination type thing, but to have a full on program, just like Big Show and Sheamus are having right now, I think it just would be rushing it. I think they could savor it and and make his rise to the main event go on a little bit longer, and it'll best serve him, I think, in the long run.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because there's been enough rush jobs recently, and I'm not even complaining about too many of recent ones. You know, Ryback, if he gets the title, you might consider it a rush job. But if it's at WrestleMania, I'm happy with that. You know, I can deal with that. So it'd be nice to see Cesaro stay away from that. Like, don't force him into that Sheamus, you know, issue.
No, I agree. And I wanted to get back to Big E just real quick because I don't know much about him, and I'm picking him as my breakout star, like I said, for just a couple of reasons. Him being really having that bodybuilder physique, and just I think his persona he's done well with. But I don't know much about him, and I know that you watch NXT, so I wanted you to get your thoughts across on Big E, and maybe if there's some matches out there that people could check out to get a little bit more familiar with his wrestling style.
Absolutely. This man, you can tell. You look at him, and he draws your attention. Like, he may have a bit of a baby face, and some people like argue about that. And you know, the first time I saw him, I did feel he might have looked like a bit awkward. He's kind of small too, you know, like height-wise, but he
is stocky, more stocky.
Yeah, but he's just massive muscle-wise. Like, I don't know if there is anyone bigger than him when it comes to just straight muscle mass, and you know, especially the ratio to his body. Mm-hmm. And it shows more. Like, Ryback is pretty big, but Ryback is all shoulder. You know, like, he's all shoulder and neck, whereas Biggie Langston is all biceps and chest, but chest because it's muscly as hell. You know, it's not like just like, I feel like Ryback's very broad-shouldered, and he's muscly. Don't get me wrong, but he just like it. You look at Big E, you're highly intimidated by his presence.
Yeah, last night how he stood in the aisle when Cena came out, just like, look, I'm gonna stand here in between you and Dolph, and you're gonna have to get through me first if you want to get to Dolph. I thought that was so badass. Yeah,
no, it plays so well, and he's actually on that same night and on SmackDown. Twice this has happened now. On SmackDown, Miz tossed Ziggler over the top ropes, and Big E caught him without hardly even budging.
Yeah, that was crazy. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, and then on Raw, Sheamus tossed him out, and Big E still caught him, barely holding him in a way that could have been very dangerous. He budged this time, but he still like with hardly any effort just lifted him up. Like, it was like, okay, here you go, don't hit the ground. It's amazing. Like, I honestly don't know if like Ryback could have done that simply.
I don't know. I mean, obviously Ryback is a strong dude, but he has struggled at times lifting up guys like Heyman and Tensai. And whether that was because they didn't jump at the proper time, I don't know. But I don't ever worry like that when Big E's around. Even though, yeah, he's only been up in the big leagues for a couple of weeks now, but I just don't get that feeling. Like, something about Ryback, I just get nervous sometimes watching him wrestle. And when a big move is about to be executed, I just get a little nervous. Like, oh shit, is he gonna pull it off or not?
and you know, and sometimes in a weird way, it's kind of I kind of like that about Ryback. It's a little appealing, you know.
It is. It keeps you on the edge of your seat for sure.
Yeah, but Biggie Langston. It's like you watch him, and there's something about him, and for someone like me who has been more exposed to him, like, I have never ever felt that way while watching Big E in the ring. And yeah, I may have not seen him in long-term matches, but you could see some of Ryback's potential damage during his squashes. Mm-hmm. And Big E, during any of his squashes and during even some of his more lengthy matches, I've always felt, I guess you could say, comfortable with him. I've never felt, he seems clean, very solid, you know, you never have to worry about him faltering unless it's because someone else is faltering. And even then, he's so powerful that depending on the circumstance, he might be able to avoid that anyway.
That's great. And I wanted, just before we get to the next award or prediction, I wanted to comment on Cena saying that he announced his Royal Rumble slot. He's going to participate in the Royal Rumble this year. And I just immediately, right when he said that, I was like, wow, this Royal Rumble is going to be good. Because most people have Ryback winning, but I mean, I could definitely see Cena winning too. And most of all, I want to see a Final Four of Ziggler, Big E, Ryback, and Cena all there in the Final Four. I think that would be tremendous.
That would be really awesome. I'm not sure if they actually plan to have Big E in the Royal Rumble. I wouldn't doubt, Ziggler gets a spot in the Rumble and Big E comes out with him on the outside. But I also wouldn't doubt that they just go ahead and put him in there. And I guess we'll find out within the month. It depends if he doesn't get a match within the month, I don't think he'll actually be in the Royal Rumble. Because it seems like they're trying to play up this bodyguard role more for now, not trying to directly get him involved with the competition all the time.
I always compare him to Diesel, and I mean, I don't know why. I guess just a lot of similarities. Shawn Michaels is kind of. I mean, Ziggler's kind of similar to Shawn.
No, yeah, exactly. It's funny that you say that because I actually thought the same thing. And I mean, I guess the bodyguard role in general kind of makes you think of that because that's like one of the first major ones. Other than I guess to an extent Ted DiBiase with Andre the Giant. But that one felt a little different,
Diesel didn't get involved in matches for a while, it seems like.
No. He was just an impressive figure that helped out Michaels whenever he needed to.
Yeah, maybe you're probably right. They probably will hold him out. But I will be interested to see Cena and Ryback because I'm almost for certain it's going to come down to those two, which would be awesome. I'm saying I'm for certain because I hope so. I really hope. I think that the building would just go crazy if it comes down to those two guys.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. But I would be interested. Cena just, he can lose a bunch, and it's fine. But eventually I'm like, well, Cena's going to stop losing sometime. But also, Ryback needs to start winning more, too. So I think it's an interesting dilemma that they have there, putting Cena and Ryback in the final two. So I'm interested to see. It's just added more intrigue for me to the Royal Rumble, which was already a pay-per-view that I'm really excited about.
You know what I think is they could easily have Ryback, because I honestly feel at this point if they were to put Ryback and Cena across from each other in a ring, whether it's the final two in Royal Rumble or elsewise, they're completely willing. Or at least Vince is completely willing to put Ryback over Cena. And so especially in a Royal Rumble situation, just because it's we can't halt this momentum. But at the same time, it all depends on what they're trying to do for Cena. Because if his plan is to get a WrestleMania win, then I guarantee you he does not win a pay-per-view match from this point leading up to that. I could see it because it would play into the storyline of him always losing the big one. If it comes down to the final two and it's Ryback and Cena and Ryback eliminates Cena, Cena's gonna just about snap, or at least he's gonna come out the next night and give one of his faux best promos.
Yeah, and I mean, but the thing is too, because this is where we disagree. Is I think that. Cena's going to go to WrestleMania to fight The Rock, but you think that it's going to be more so Ryback and Punk, and I think that this is Cena's ticket to WrestleMania. Will be winning the Royal Rumble.
Yes, the way I say if Rock does, I meant to say this earlier. If Rock wins at Royal Rumble, Cena's going to win the Royal Rumble.
Okay,
that's how I feel. If Punk wins at Royal Rumble, Cena's not going to win the Royal Rumble. And if Punk does win the Royal Rumble, there's a chance Ryback might win. Actually, if Ryback's in it, I hardly see a scenario where he doesn't win. But, if Punk wins the title, I definitely don't see Cena immediately going after the title unless they wanted to cap off the Cena-Punk feud. Which at this rate, it would make more sense to go with the Ryback Punk program or a Rock Punk rematch than to do that.
Yeah, so many possibilities. It's going to be really fun. I can't wait for that. And another thing that has a ton of possibilities is our next award, the most likely to get future endeavored. There's a lot that you could, a big group that you could pick from really right now of unused talent. But I'm going to say that I want Zack Ryder to get released to allow him to kind of go out, get back on the indie scene and really hone in on a new character, something fresh, something more serious, something that could allow him to really excel. And I'm going to say, I don't think that they're going to let him go. I think they'll just keep him at the status quo, jobbing, blah, blah, blah. He's so He's so pissed. He voices his displeasure. I don't know. I don't know what to believe, if it's just, if this is leading to a character change or if Ryder's really pissed. Because on New Year's, he said something like, you know, oh, like, why would I want to watch the ball dropped tonight? Because the ball's been dropped with me all year long.
Yeah. And I feel like it's really, I honestly feel it's not leading to a character change. I don't feel WWE has any plans for Zack Ryder right now other than to milk him for as much merchandise as they can. That's
sad but true, I think, and I want him to get released, but I'm not going to say that he's going to. I'm going to go actually with something might be a bit of a surprise for some people. I'm going to say Sin Cara gets released. I don't think he's ever really been comfortable during his time in WWE. The injuries are starting to pile up. I'm sure the travel, like everybody, is just super annoying for him, and I think that it'll be best for him to return to Mexico, and I think that they'll eventually part ways sometime after WrestleMania. I'm sure he'll fight Ray, maybe if Ray's healthy, and all the other things are good with him, because I know he had some personal problems that he had to take some time off. Then I see them fighting, and then I see Sin Cara getting released shortly after that. So those are my two. Who are you going to say for most likely to get future endeavored?
I just wanted to first off agree with the Sin Cara thing, because I feel at this point they're pretty much gonna try to be like, okay, well, let's get that Mysterio Sin Cara match out of the way.
Which is crazy though, to think he's gonna be released. I mean, with all the publicity that he came into WWE with, and it was a Triple H signing.
Hype, man.
Yeah, so much hype, and I'm kind of bummed about it, because there was something about Sin Cara that I always, for some reason, I just always wanted to see him succeed. I don't know why. Maybe it's the lack of masked wrestlers, or I don't know. I wanted him to succeed, and it's kind of shitty to think that it's just going to end like this.
It's something that you wouldn't expect to succeed in WWE. It's something that you wouldn't expect WWE to sign. It's someone you wouldn't expect to.
That's it. That is true. I never thought they would sign him, and when they did, I was like, "Whoa, this is interesting. I hope this works." That's why I can never
exactly. It's like if they went over there to Japan and like sign like Kenta or something like that. It would be unprecedented, and you would, every single internet fan, me included, would be like, oh, he's going to get underutilized. Oh, he's not going to get his shot. But you want it to happen.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I didn't know that much about Mystico, which of course is Sin Cara, before he was Sin Cara. I didn't know too much about him. I just heard the name, because I don't watch a lot of Lucha Libre, just because it seems so hard to come across and sometimes hard to get into off the bat. But I eventually, once he got signed, I went back and saw some of his matches. Like, man, this dude's pretty good. I would like to see more of him. And it just never came. He came out and he just never. There was a discussion about this on Raja, actually, about whether WWE had dropped the ball on him or whether Sin Cara had dropped the ball. And it's probably a mix of both.
Yeah, that's a good question. It is definitely a mix of both, for sure.
I do feel the biggest thing is he did not have any time in developmental, and that was like supposed to be a part of Sin Cara's contract. And he also can't see out of that mask. He's admitted that.
No shit, really?
Yeah, like in some interview, he actually admitted that, and so it's a shame to see it. It's just like it would have just let him stay in developmental, and would have gave him a mask where maybe his eyes would be out or something like that. Especially because he'd have that mask and the lights. It would have worked better.
Yeah, so they're putting him in a mask where he can't see shit out of, and they're gonna dim the lights on him.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. That's ridiculous. I can't believe that. So that's why Miz couldn't see when he put the mask on him at that one pay-per-view.
yeah, pretty much.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, he should have been in developmental. They should have given him more time to adapt to the new style he was going to have to take on and all that, But
like, no wonder the man was messing up everywhere. He was probably nervous. He could hardly understand anyone. He can't see.
For sure. Oh gosh, yeah. There's so many. So I would lean more towards the WWE messed up than Sin Cara messed up. You obviously can't put it all on one side, but I would lean more to putting it more on WWE's side.
Yeah, and originally I was more on the Sin Cara side, but then after looking at all the information that people on the forums, posted. I was like, okay, maybe it is a bit more of a WWE problem. But then there's also the matter of how much he can't see out of that mask too. But despite that, it's a hindrance. And and then the developmental thing. If that was a contract deal, then that's kind of Sin Cara's own fault. Still, there's so many. It should have been handled differently. That's the best way to say it.
Yeah, needless to say, it's a bummer. But from the big pool of wrestlers that you could choose from, who are you going to say that you want to get future endeavored?
Khali,
okay.
Great Khali, hands down. If you had to ask me this question and I didn't prepare for the answer, that would have been the first thing that came to mind. I see no value in him.
So you want him to get released, but you don't think that WWE is actually going to, right? Because I don't, because he's just too big of a star internationally, especially in India, to get rid of, I think.
Yeah, no, I don't think he will be released anytime soon, because if they were going to release him, they would have done it when he was gone while he was. Mm-hmm. And now they're making him somewhat prominent again. It's like they do the same thing. He comes back, he gets like a faux push, and then he fades into relative obscurity, coming out only to piss you off when you don't want to see, The Miz fight someone who's lackluster or something. Or not, I mean, Miz is face now, but I'm just going off of experience.
Yeah, can Khali, because Khali's going to fight Cesaro on main event. Do you think Cesaro is going to be able to hit him with his finisher?
That's actually a really good question. I almost wouldn't doubt that they'd have to go the route of having him finish it with the uppercut in some fashion. But I think
I'm going to watch it just for that reason alone.
Yeah, no, I want to watch it because I want to see what Cesaro can do with Khali. Because every now, like Cody Rhodes is someone who surprisingly he knows how to wrestle Khali. He knows how to make a Khali match as interesting as it could potentially be. I don't see Khali winning at all. If they did, I'd be so baffled and upset. But the simple fact that they played so much into this whole anti-American angle, I don't see a foreigner winning it.
Oh, if Khali wins it, that would be totally one of the weirdest things that WWE had done in a while. It's
one of those things that would almost make you want to stop watching, except for the fact that it's a title that's inconsequential at this point.
It is, but it would make zero sense, and it would be there. I couldn't think of one reason why they would do it.
It wouldn't help anything other than maybe some more ratings in India.
Yeah,
but I don't see any value in him. He can be comedic. If they wanted to keep him around as just a personality, I am all right with that. But get him out of the ring. We don't need to see him, awkwardly stalking. just get him out. I'm done. I wasn't interested in the first place, so just go.
Definitely, I agree. And then if he does go, at least that'll free up Natalya to actually maybe start to wrestle again, which I would love to see. But that's another topic for another day. So Khali is somebody you want to get future endeavored. Now, who are you going to say does actually get future endeavored?
This one's hard to pick, I feel, because there's quite a few people that aren't getting used for various reasons. Like the three people that come to mind are Alex Riley, Ezekiel Jackson, and Mason Ryan. And some of them, they've been injured. Actually, I think all three of them at one point were injured. And
yes, they actually are all under contract still, if you want to believe it or not.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know how much of their lack of TV time or internet show time is because they've been injured or whatever. Hey, Alex Riley, it seemed like they had some confidence in him, and once they fizzled out on the Miz storyline and didn't really follow up with like a U.S. title run or anything like that, they just dropped any like mainstream support for him.
He totally fell off the face of the earth. It was just like that, like boom.
Yeah, no, he immediately just became superstars veteran.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. I remember going to a Raw a while ago and seeing Riley on the Superstars that they taped before it, and he took on Santino, and I was just like, gosh, talk about a quick fall. He was
And he was so over for a moment there.
Yeah, he really was.
When he attacked Miz, the crowd reacted so strongly.
That was awesome. I do remember that.
That was one of my favorite moments. And to me, because I had liked Riley. Like, I had started noticing, I didn't see him on NXT because I wasn't watching NXT when I first got back in. But I had realized I liked him as a personality, especially particularly when he was as a heel. Like, he at times seemed better than Miz almost. It just had that perfect comedic timing. And just he was very able to insult without sounding too cheesy, and it just worked. And you'd see him wrestle. He fought Cena once, and he wrestled a few short matches, and you're like, this dude has something. I don't know what it is, but I can already see it. And then the turn happened, and he beat the hell out of Miz, and the crowd was just loving it, and I was eating it up. I was like, yes, this is what you need to do. This is right booking. This is proper. And the match was good. Capital Punishment, I think, was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
More Truth main evented that one. Gosh, that was crazy.
Yeah, that one. Crazy, right? And Miz and Riley was actually one of my favorite matches from that show. I felt they did a good job. Riley was still a little rough, but it turned out well, and the crowd was behind it, and it's just a really well done story. And they played into it more when Riley was kept beating Miz over and over and over again. And there's one Raw, actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Raw where Punk did his promo, the pipe bomb promo, or it was the Raw afterwards because I was watching it live. Riley had beaten Miz again on Raw, and Miz was almost crying, and then started beating up Riley and was still almost crying and doing his kind of psycho Miz thing. And I felt like it was all developing really well. And then they had the opportunity to have Riley. They started having him mix it up with Ziggler for the U.S. title, and they had an opportunity to make that a match at Money in the Bank. And instead, they made it a pre-show match at Money in the Bank, and then they made a TV match, and it just fell into obscurity. And ultimately, while Riley did fall flat in a couple of mic moments, it's just they're okay, well, we changed our mind because this lost all sorts of momentum that we were looking for, so we're not even going to bother.
Yeah, it seemed like it really affected his confidence because you're right, he was so excited. It seemed like he was really eager to get in the ring, to cut a promo. He was just happy to be where he was. And then when it seemed like he could tell when WWE was losing their faith in him, so it kind of made him doubt himself a little bit.
Yeah. That actually, I can totally see that. That makes a lot of sense.
And that's the thing. That's just another time where WWE sometimes could stick with guys a little bit longer and just give them, whatever, couple months, 6 months more.
Just give them a thorough shot.
Yeah, a legit shot. It's
not going to be any worse than what they've already done with other people that sometimes aren't even deserving.
I agree. I mean, I see him getting released along with those other guys that you said, Mason Ryan and Zeke Jackson. But now that we've talked about him like this, and I've because it is out of sight, out of mind. I mean, when wrestlers leave or they go on hiatus for whatever reason, I mean, you just forget about some of the stuff that they did, until you actually bring it up again and start talking about it. And because, I mean, I can remember everybody who's been wrestling for a while now consistently, I can remember all their stuff that they did this year. But since Alex Riley's been out for so long, it takes me a time like this to talk about him, to remember that, yeah, I did enjoy his work. And, it actually is a bummer that he probably will get released and probably totally miss the boat on what could have been maybe a really successful career.
Absolutely. He could have done something, and they had the perfect launching point.
He could have been for our next award. We're going to talk about somebody who breaks the glass ceiling, and that AKA somebody who will get a run with the world title for their first time. Riley could have been that guy a year ago or whatever, 2 years ago,
Absolutely, yeah, completely. And they just kind of floundered on it. And whether it was his fault or not, it was just, like you said, another case of them not giving him a thorough chance. It's if once the doubts were there, they just said, screw it.
Well, here's somebody that I really have been wanting WWE to give a solid chance to, a solid run, put a strong idea behind him, and it's Santino Marella. He's my selection for somebody that I want to break the glass ceiling, and I know a ton of people out there. Santino has a good share of people who just don't enjoy his work for whatever reason. I think his timing, and I think he's so natural in front of the camera that he's obviously a funny addition to the roster, but I I want to see him step up into the main event, into a little bit more serious role, because I believe I've seen some matches where he goes hold for hold with some of the better wrestlers out there. He's creative not only in his promos of being funny, but he's creative in the ring. And I know we talked about this a while ago, but I think I might still be holding on to the Elimination Chamber reaction that he got there, which was unforgettable to me. I don't know how people forget that never happened. It was so epic to me what happened that night, and I don't understand why WWE never ran with that. But that's my pick for who I want to be the glass ceiling.
And I think I definitely admire that pick, because I would like to see Santino break the glass ceiling like you.
So you're not a Santino hater like a lot of people?
Not at all. I started as a Santino hater because I just saw him as another joke character.
Okay.
But soon I realized this dude is legitimately funny. And then past that, you start realizing this guy's pretty solid in the ring. And once you start seeing him more and you get to see him like expand every now and then, you realize this guy's way better in the ring than I think anyone realizes. And
Definitely.
It's a shame that I don't think you're just going off that Elimination Chamber reaction, because that's not the only time Santino's gotten a huge reaction. That's just the only time he's gotten a huge reaction in a main event spot. And I don't think it was the main event of the night, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean,
no.
still, no. But it was still, it was for the world title.
Exactly.
It was the main event of SmackDown, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, when a man is over like that, you have to take advantage of that, especially if he has what it takes in the ring. And maybe he's not, you could argue he's not like, he shouldn't be a world champion because he's not that big or anything, but that shouldn't even be an excuse. As long as it's not the world heavyweight championship, everything will be hunky-dory, because then no one can really be picky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I definitely think it would be nice to see him break the glass ceiling. It would be nice to see WWE take him more seriously, because he has something. If anyone doesn't believe that man can wrestle, look up his match against Jack Swagger. It was a cage match on SmackDown from last year for the U.S. title, like sometime in April, I believe.
Yeah, good call. That one was awesome.
For me, it was the match. It was right after he won the U.S. title, and I was thinking, holy crap, they are going to do this. They're going to give Santino a serious shot at being a funny guy who can kick your ass. And instead, they just decided, nah, we're just going to leave him be a joke character.
Just like that. So I want him to break the glass ceiling. I know that he more than likely won't. But who do you want to see break the glass ceiling? Then we'll get into who we think.
I want to see Drew McIntyre. He's with the three-man band. It feels like he's been rejuvenated. I talked about it earlier. He had that feud with Trent Beretta, and I feel like that was his last real strong stand to show that he had something to offer. Because after that, he very much faded into obscurity. Because that was fading. When I got back into wrestling, it was the first pay-per-view I watched was Night of Champions, when he and Cody won the tag team titles. And I liked both guys.
Totally forgot about that team.
I liked that guy. I liked the pairing, and they started doing promos. Right, like the night that they were starting to do like a good promo, they lost the titles to, I think it was John. Or no, it wasn't John. Yeah, no, they lost the titles to John Cena and David Otunga, because that was when Cena was in the Nexus.
Great memory.
yeah, it's amazing how much this stuff sticks with me. But I grew to like McIntyre a lot. I was upset that they lost the tag team titles, and then Rhodes and McIntyre started feuding because of that, and McIntyre started doing that. They started playing it up like he uses the ring as his tag team partner, and where he was using the environment basically to do moves in different ways, and it just made such a unique wrestling style. Mm-hmm. It was different. It was like not only he was visceral, he was calculating, and he used his environment to his advantage. Like he had a match with Yoshitatsu and Superstars. It was one of my favorite matches of the year. He picked up, Yoshi ran at him, and he picked him up and essentially did like a tombstone pile driver onto the apron. Not like they weren't both standing on the apron, like he was they're both on the floor. But it's like essentially what he did is like dropped him like right on the neck, shoulder onto the apron.
Wow.
And it's just like, oh, that was devastating. And it's like that was actually the night that I officially decided Drew McIntyre is one of my favorite wrestlers in WWE. And
he's definitely gotten a second chance here with three-man band, and he knows it, and I think he's really taken full advantage of it. I was glad to see that they got a shot at the tag belts last night too.
Yeah, no, I was thrilled to see that. Funny segment to build up to it. And yeah, it's just the fact that Drew really is like really into the three-man band. Like he's just giving it his all. He is. Yeah, he seems motivated by it. Like he's just like, I don't care how silly it is. I'm gonna go out there and have fun, give it 120%, because otherwise no one's gonna pay attention. Like he's taken something that could easily be a flop. Really, all three of them have taken something that could easily be a flop, and they're developing it into something that is truly entertaining, and you can rely on to give you a good match.
Isn't that the best when somebody's given a gimmick that it looks like it's just bound to fail, but then they go out there with such confidence and such an attitude of, I just don't care at all. I'm just going to go out there and fully, invest in this. You know, it's like Dusty Rhodes. I've just heard that back in the day they gave him polka dots just to like as a rib, just to kind of embarrass him or whatever. And
I totally embraced it.
Yeah, I embraced it. And I was a kid when Dusty was in WWF, and he was one of my favorites. Like, I didn't think anything of the polka dots. I just thought, that's him. That's who he is. That's what he wears. That's what he likes, and that's cool with me because it's cool to Dusty, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's, you know, I guess it runs in the family. It's the same thing with Goldust. You know, like that is a gimmick that should not have been successful, but Goldust took it and was like, I'm going to make this the most creepy, uncomfortable, just like spine-tingling gimmick that you could think of, because I'm gonna play on like all the like taboos of the time, you know.
Mm-hmm. He did that perfectly. That will be one of the most memorable gimmicks of all time.
Goldust in the early '90s, like when he first showed up, he was legitimately scary.
Totally.
And if they wanted to, you know, in a different world, in a non-Vince McMahon-led WWF, he really could have been like he is world title material. You're not going to see, most people aren't going to be comfortable with putting a gimmick like that on their main championship, which is a shame because it would have been unprecedented. It would have been different.
The boos he got were insane. People like legitimately hated Goldust. That was the best part.
When he feuded with Undertaker, that was like one of the biggest things ever.
Definitely. Yeah, it's all about taking a gimmick and just doing it to the fullest of your abilities. And I'm so glad that Drew has done that. You're right. He did. He made up his mind. Whatever they gave him, he was just gonna do, and that's awesome because, you know, he does have all the talent to become a big future star for WWE, and I hope he does. So that's who you want. Now we'll get into who will say. I mean, you say you want Drew to break the glass ceiling, but you don't. You kind of think that he will in a way, don't you too?
Yes. No. That's the thing is with the thinking of who I will. I was tempted to just put Drew McIntyre again.
Okay.
But I will say I'll leave it there as a kind of like a honorable mention because I want him to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of guys I want to, obviously. Every person that I like, I want them all to break their glass ceiling. That would be wonderful. But I really want him to, and I feel he will because of the three-man band gimmick. And I feel like at least Slater and Drew McIntyre have a strong chance to take this and make themselves maybe not household names, but very memorable characters that people are always interested to see. But for my actual likes, I'd go with a tie between. I'm going to go ahead and say Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
Because or not likes, but most likely is what I meant to say. For most likely, and some people might say, "Oh, what do you mean? He's already really good." It's like
But we're talking about somebody who's going to take their game to world title level, not only to that level, but capture a world title.
Exactly. And I feel Cody Rhodes is going to come, even if he doesn't capture a world title, I feel he's going to officially break himself into the main event scene, or break himself, at least be like how Ziggler is at the end of this year. Maybe he's Money in the Bank winner next year. I could see Cody Rhodes being a Money in the Bank winner next year. I thought he was going to be Money in the Bank winner in 2011. It didn't happen, but I was almost positive he would be, and then they decided to go with Bryan instead, which I'm happy they did. But it was way more surprising. I feel it's like, and speaking of that, it's like I feel with Rhodes, they had a strong, solid push going for him ever since Mysterio broke his nose and he did this figure gimmick. He was finding his personality, he was finding his true talent, and ultimately he's starting to shine through. And then he dropped the mask, and it was like he just clicked on a switch, and all of a sudden, this is Cody Rhodes. This is the man who is the Intercontinental Champion, the one who is, at least theoretically, single-handedly bringing back prestige to one of the oldest championships in WWE history. And he lost the belt to Big Show, which is fine. It was really well built up. It was handled well. I accepted that.
Yeah, lost it at WrestleMania.
He won it back. Fine, cool. At that point, I'm kind of like, why did you break up the reign if you're going to do that? But fair enough. And then they made him drop it to Christian like it was nothing. And after that, he just dropped off the map. And I don't know if that's because WWE felt like he wasn't excelling where he needed to, which I wouldn't agree at all. I felt he was knocking like every segment he was doing out of the park, just about, at least coming close. And, he's wrestling really well. I felt he made Big Show look great at WrestleMania. A lot of people didn't like that match, but that was actually one of my favorite matches of the night. Not like top favorite, but I really enjoyed it. And but after he dropped it to Christian, he kind of feuded with him a bit, and then he just kind of fell off the map.
And thankfully he got teamed with Sandow now, because they're awesome together. And that's one of the shames about him, because I think Sandow's gonna be break the glass ceiling too. That's who's gonna be who I say is going to break the glass ceiling. And it's a shame because it means that they're going to have to split, but in the long run, it has to be that way in order for them to fully accomplish all that we think they can. You can only go so far in a tag team.
Yes, and it's a polarizing thing, because a part of you wants them to stick together as a tag team, because you want the division to look strong. You want teams to actually stick together, but both of them aren't tag team wrestlers, and they don't really need each other like primetime players do.
Yeah, this is where the brand split would really come in handy. I feel like if they really went back to being dedicated to the brand split, it's like
you could have tag teams who are on different shows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because weren't the Hardy Boys like that when Jeff came back?
Yeah, no, they were. They were on different brands. Yeah, exactly.
But they came together as a tag team, and that was one of the times when the tag team division was starting to look strong again for a while. You had a lot of great teams, a lot of creative teams. You had the Hardy Boys come back.
Oh yeah, they were on one brand together. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then you had the Highlanders. You had Crime Time. Just a lot of different guys coming in. Was it Cade and Murdoch? It's just a lot of great teams. At least they were noticeable. They caught your attention, and they all felt like they were tag teams that went together. And I was so stoked at that time, because I wasn't even watching wrestling regularly then, but I just remember being like, it's nice to see that the tag team division is getting better. I hope this keeps going, and that it didn't.
Yeah,
right.
And now that it's strong again, I feel like they can afford to let Cody and Sandow go their separate ways.
Yes, absolutely. And so I'm all right with them breaking up. It's either them or Team Hell No is going to break up, and I actually kind of would rather see Team Hell No stick around a little bit longer.
Yeah, I would too. I think it would be too early to break them up now. You might as well let them go all the way to WrestleMania with the belts. And I just want to see. I would love to see them in a continue their feud with Three Man Band, but I'm interested to see where they go with Team Hell No, because it seems like they're kind of, still figuring out where they want to go with them right now.
And now they're starting to actually like work together, like not only just being accepting of each other's presence, but also like doing tag team moves. Mm-hmm. Right? Like on Raw when Daniel Bryan got him in the not the bow and arrow stretch, the surfboard stretch.
Oh yeah, and then he tagged in Kane, and Kane came in for the drop kick.
Yeah, like that was genius. Like that's how you make two guys who are normally singles wrestlers like operate together and make interesting tag team moves. Or like when Kane, does a double whip to slam Bryan into the person in the turnbuckle with the drop kick. Mm-hmm. Like I like that. And now that they're starting to do that, it's like I don't know if I want them to break up. Even though I was so adamant on wanting Bryan to have some kind of singles push going into WrestleMania.
Yeah, he'll get his singles push eventually. It's undeniable the popularity of his character. So I think that they'll hold on to the tag team for as long as they can, and then eventually he'll get his due. I think WrestleMania 30, he will truly get his chance to shine in a singles match. I would love, if I could have it my way, I would love to see Team Hell No versus Three Man Band at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen, but I would love to see that happen. But I'm interested to see where they're going to go. I mean, it's kind of weird. I just feel like they're kind of, just kind of sputtering with them. Like, they don't really have a true direction as in the sense of who they're feuding with right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, because, there was the Rhodes Scholars, but they didn't push it into a main title feud. And they're, like, kind of fighting PTP a couple weeks. And now they had the thing with Three Man Band, but then like they were still talking about the Shield on Monday.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, the Shield is kind of their main like rival right now, I guess.
Though I'm wondering if there's any plan. It might just be a TV match, but I wonder if there's any plan for Ryback, Orton, and Sheamus to be facing the Shield anytime soon.
Yeah, that could be interesting. I mean, I forgot about the Shield for some reason. I don't know why, but that could be interesting at WrestleMania, seeing them take on Team Hell No.
Yeah, no, I just do it 2-on-3. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that would kind of suck was like, I'd like to see Bryan and Kane win that one. Mm-hmm. But it would look nice for them, but it would kind of like somewhat destroy that credibility of the Shield for how much they dismantled all three of them, including a Ryback at TLC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another area where they're kind of sputtering is, I mean, it's obviously clear that they're going forward with Big Show and Sheamus, but right now it's kind of like Del Rio is filling in for Sheamus in a way, don't you think?
You mean in the world title hunt?
Yeah, like, I mean, because it's, Ricardo fought Big Show and they, on Raw, and then
on SmackDown, he had that match too.
Yeah, and because obviously Del Rio's face now, and I just wonder where they're going to go after. Because I think on this SmackDown or maybe next Raw, they're going to fully have to go into Sheamus strictly feuding with Big Show for their build to Royal Rumble again, which is a topic for another time. I mean, I'm pretty surprised that they're continuing at that. But I wonder where they're going to go with Team Hell No, because after this Christmas Eve episode and then now the New Year's Eve episode, they can fully go back to, I feel like, a normal schedule. And I'm be interested to see where they go with Team Hell No, and I really want to see where they go with Del Rio, because he is right now. You could say he's kind of feuding with Big Show, but we know that's not the case at the end of the day, right?
Well, actually, after what happened on Friday, and especially after what happened last night on Raw, I'm actually thinking that Royal Rumble might see another triple threat for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Oh, that's true. I don't know why I never thought about that. That's true.
It'd be a way of continuing the Sheamus Big Show feud without having to give us another one-on-one, and I would be all right with that.
I would be all right with that too, actually. I was really down on the idea of them doing Big Show and Sheamus again, and that sucks to say because I've really loved their feud, but I just thought it would be dragging on too long. But now, if they do keep this, I don't know why, for some reason I just thought it was so temporary, but maybe it's not. Maybe you're probably right. They are going to go with the triple threat. I hope so.
I did feel it was temporary at first, but just after Friday, the way things happened, I was just kind of like, yeah, they might try to build this into a triple threat. And now that, after the events on Raw, obviously this is becoming more of a Del Rio wanting to whoop Big Show's ass. I don't know why I hesitated on that, but yeah, no, now that it's becoming more of that, it's becoming very strongly apparent that it might be a triple threat situation, or they might even somehow forego it, because Sheamus just about ignored Big Show on Raw, so they might even forego it and start having Del Rio feud with Big Show while Sheamus actually moves on. Though that would be kind of random at this point.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, that's a thought, definitely, and that would be more reason to get excited about Royal Rumble 2. And we're going to be back next time to talk about our Royal Rumble predictions and all the matches that are going to be going on at that show. But for now, we're out of time. For Julius Johnson, I'm Dayton Marinkovich, and if you ever take a trip down to Cobb County, Georgia, you better read the signs.
You're so hard times. You'll be serving hard times. You know the big boss man will make you walk the line. You better watch out for you'll be serving hard times.
George the Animal Steel on the outside will be no factor, yeah.
You say no factor. Obviously, he is a factor, or you wouldn't even brought it up.
Oh, wow, Mr. Sarcasm.